the silence has finally been shattered. After months of hiding from the media circus that consumed their daughter's life, Robert and Patricia Cabot have emerged from the shadows with a statement that's sending shockwaves through an already fractured situation. The parents of Kristen Cabot, the HR executive whose affair with tech CEO Andy Byron became the most viral cheating scandal in internet history, are no longer staying quiet. And what they're saying will leave you speechless. Remember that night at the Coldplay's concert when the kiss cam caught what looked like an innocent moment between two colleagues? Within 17 minutes, the internet had identified both parties, and within hours, careers were obliterated, marriages destroyed, and families torn apart. But while Andy Byron's parents vanished into the night, the Kabat family faced a different kind of nightmare. Robert Cabot, a retired high school principal from Portland, Oregon, and Patricia, a former nurse who dedicated her life to helping others, never imagined they'd become household names for all the wrong reasons. For 43 years of marriage, they built a reputation in their community as the couple who did everything right. Church volunteers, school board members, the neighbors who always had their Christmas lights up first and took down last. Their daughter Kristen was their pride and joy. Valedictorian of her high school class, full scholarship to Oregon State University, master's degree in organizational psychology. She climbed the corporate ladder through merit, not scandal. At least, that's what everyone thought until that fateful night when stadium lights illuminated a truth that would destroy everything. Sources close to the Kabat family reveal that Robert and Patricia first learned about their daughter's situation not from Kristen herself, but from a neighbor who burst through their front door at 11:30 that Tuesday night, phone in hand, showing them the viral video that was already approaching 10 million views. The footage was undeniable. There was their daughter, the woman they raised to value integrity above all else, caught in an embrace with a married man in front of 65,000 screaming fans and countless millions more watching from home. What happened next, according to family insiders, was a complete emotional collapse that lasted for days. Patricia Cabot, the woman who had nursed countless patients through their darkest moments, found herself unable to get out of bed for 72 hours straight. She kept replaying the video, searching for some explanation, some context that would make sense of what she was seeing. Robert, meanwhile, went into damage control mode that would make a crisis management firm jealous. He unplugged the house phone, disabled the doorbell, and spent hours deleting social media accounts he barely knew how to use in the first place. But the internet waits for no one, and by Thursday morning, their home address, phone numbers, and even Patricia's old nursing license information had been doxed across multiple platforms. The couple who had lived quietly in the same suburban neighborhood for 2 decades suddenly found themselves prisoners in their own home, watching through drawn blinds as news vans lined their street and reporters knocked on doors, offering neighbors money for any information about the family that raised America's most infamous home wrecker. But here's where the story takes a turn that nobody saw coming. 3 weeks after the scandal broke, when the initial media frenzy had died down to a manageable roar, Kristen finally called her parents. Not to apologize, not to explain, but to ask for money. She needed funds for a lawyer, for a public relations firm, for a fresh start somewhere far from the wreckage she'd created. The conversation, according to a source who claims to have heard it firsthand, lasted exactly 4 minutes and 11 seconds. Robert Cabot, the man who had never raised his voice to his daughter in 31 years, hung up on her. That's when Patricia knew they had lost their daughter completely. Portland's West Side suburbs aren't known for drama, but the Cabot scandal changed that overnight. The family that once hosted annual block parties and organized neighborhood watch programs suddenly found themselves completely isolated. Former friends crossed the street to avoid conversations. The grocery store checkout lines went silent when Patricia appeared. Even their longtime pastor, Reverend Michael Thompson of Westside Community Church, struggled to find words of comfort during what should have been routine pastoral visits. The isolation hit Patricia hardest. She had spent decades building relationships in their community, volunteering at the food bank, organizing charity drives, visiting elderly neighbors when they were sick. Now those same people she had helped were the ones sharing memes about her daughter across Facebook groups and church prayer chains that had transformed into gossip networks. Robert tried to maintain normalcy by continuing his morning walks through the neighborhood, but even that became unbearable when he realized people were filming him from their windows, creating content for social media posts about spotting the father of the woman who destroyed a marriage on live television. After months of speculation about where the Kabat family stood, sources began leaking details about a letter Robert and Patricia had allegedly written to Andy Byron's wife, Megan. The letter, which has never been officially confirmed but has been described by multiple sources, reportedly contained a heartfelt apology and a complete condemnation of their daughter's actions. The rumored contents sent shockwaves through social media. According to leaked excerpts, Patricia wrote something along the lines of, "You deserved a faithful husband, and we failed to raise a daughter who respected marriage and family values." Robert allegedly added that they were ashamed to call Kristen their child and understood if Megan never wanted to hear from them again. Whether real or fabricated, the supposed letter sparked intense debate about parental responsibility and family loyalty. Was it appropriate for parents to publicly condemn their own child, or was this the ultimate betrayal when Kristen needed family support most? The final straw came during what should have been a routine Tuesday evening. Patricia was attempting to return to some normalcy by attending her book club meeting at the local library, the first social event she'd participated in since the scandal broke. The discussion that night was supposed to focus on a historical fiction novel about resilience during wartime. Instead, Patricia found herself facing a room full of women who had once been her closest friends, all staring at her with a mixture of pity and curiosity. The conversation quickly shifted from literature to the elephant in the room. One member, supposedly a longtime friend, asked directly if Patricia knew about Kristen's affair before it became public. The question shattered what remained of Patricia's composure. She stood up, gathered her purse, and walked out without saying a word. That night, she told Robert they needed to speak publicly, or the speculation and rumors would never end. What finally pushed the Cabots to break their silence wasn't media pressure or financial necessity. It was a letter from Megan Byron herself, thanking them for their support and expressing understanding for the impossible position they'd been placed in through no fault of their own. That letter, combined with months of watching their daughter make increasingly poor decisions in the aftermath of the scandal, convinced Robert and Patricia that silence was no longer an option. Their community needed to hear from them directly, not through rumors and speculation. When the Cabots finally decided to speak, they chose an unconventional platform. Instead of major network interviews or magazine exclusives, they issued a statement through their longtime family friend and local business owner, Maria Santos, who owns a popular coffee shop in downtown Portland. The statement, read aloud by Santos during what was supposed to be a routine Tuesday morning in her cafe, contained words that no parent should ever have to say publicly about their child. Robert and Patricia expressed complete support for Megan Byron, acknowledged that their daughter had made choices that went against everything they had tried to teach her, and asked for privacy as they navigated the most difficult period of their lives. But the most shocking part of the statement wasn't what they said about Kristen. It was what they revealed about the months leading up to the scandal. According to the Cabot statement, there had been warning signs for over 1 year before the Coldplay's incident. Kristen had become increasingly secretive during family visits, frequently stepping away to take phone calls she described as work emergencies. She had stopped mentioning her colleagues by name during conversations and had declined several family invitations without clear explanations. Most tellingly, she had asked her parents for financial help multiple times throughout the previous year, claiming unexpected expenses and cash flow problems despite her high-paying position. Robert and Patricia had provided the money without question, trusting their daughter's explanations and wanting to support her career advancement. Now they realized that money may have been funding a lifestyle that included expensive dinners, weekend trips, and the kind of discretionary spending that comes with maintaining a secret relationship. The Cabot statement created an immediate firestorm online. Supporters praised them for their courage and integrity, arguing that holding their daughter accountable was the right thing to do regardless of family ties. Critics accused them of throwing Kristen under the bus to save their own reputations and questioned what kind of parents publicly condemn their own child. The reaction from Kristen herself was swift and brutal. Within hours of the statement going viral, she posted a lengthy response on social media platforms she hadn't used since the original scandal, accusing her parents of abandoning her when she needed them most and prioritizing their community, standing over family loyalty. The post, which was screenshotted and shared millions of times before she deleted it, contained accusations that Robert and Patricia had always been more concerned with appearances than genuine support, and that their public statement proved they cared more about their own reputation than their daughter's well-being. Months after breaking their silence, Robert and Patricia Cabot remain in their Portland home, but their lives have changed completely. The community that once ostracized them has largely welcomed them back, viewing their statement as evidence of integrity and moral courage. Local businesses that once made them feel unwelcome now treat them with respect, and several neighbors have reached out with private messages of support. But the cost has been enormous. They have had no contact with Kristen since her angry social media response to their statement. Birthday cards go unacknowledged. Holiday invitations are ignored. The daughter they raised and loved for over 3 decades has effectively disappeared from their lives, leaving behind only painful memories and the constant wondering about what they could have done differently. As this saga continues to unfold, several questions remain unanswered. Was the Cabot decision to speak out an act of moral courage or a betrayal of parental unconditional love? Should parents be held responsible for their adult children's choices, or do they have a right to distance themselves from decisions they find morally reprehensible? And perhaps most importantly, is there any path forward for a family fractured by scandal, public shame, and fundamentally different views about loyalty, responsibility, and redemption? The Coldplay's Kiss Cam incident lasted less than 30 seconds, but its aftermath has destroyed relationships, ended careers, and torn apart families in ways that may never be repaired. Robert and Patricia Cabot thought breaking their silence would bring clarity and closure. Instead, it may have guaranteed that their family will never be whole again. The price of speaking truth, it seems, can be just as devastating as the price of staying silent. And in a world where viral moments can destroy lives in real time, sometimes there are no good choices left, only the hope that integrity matters more than popularity, and that doing what feels right is worth the cost of everything else.